Hey guys, welcome back to the 208 Breakdown here on YouTube. We are back with another movie recap today. Like I said in a previous movie recap video where I recapped the live-action Moana, I said probably, most likely, we're going to be doing the Young Washington movie from this month for the next movie recap. So here we are now. We're going to do exactly what we did last time for the movie Young Washington, a report card style. I'll be grading it and giving you all the details I can give out to you. A little extra information. We're going to be grading based on my 5 main categories that I think suits a proper grade for a movie. Visual effects, is the movie necessary, acting and performance, storyline, and my personal enjoyment of watching the film. Again, like I said in the video where I rated the live action Moana, I said my enjoyment category, most of the time it's going to be 5 stars no matter how good or bad the movie is, because I love watching movies no matter how good or bad they are. I find that personal enjoyment for them, even though, like, I'll laugh if the movie's so bad, sort of thing, that kind of stuff right there. So if any movie is under 3 stars at all in my ratings for the my enjoyment category, it's a movie that I wouldn't recommend watching to any of you that are watching or listening to this video. So that kind of thing, it must be a pretty bad movie if that's not doing good on the my enjoyment category of this system that I made. So let's get right into it. We're gonna do the Young Washington movie. The movie premiered on July 3rd, July 3rd, 2026, just in time for our nation's 250th birthday. And this movie is about the struggles and successes of George Washington in the French and Indian War. So this movie takes place around the year span of 1753 to 1755 in the French and Indian War. Now, a little bit of foreshadowing. I like this movie because it explores an area of history that not a lot of us have been introduced to. So, for example, the Revolutionary War. Most of us know the general concept of it. Trying to gain independence, and General George Washington, obviously, he's about 40 to 50 around that time. Try to gain independence. We do gain independence on July 4th, 1776 against the British. All that general concept stuff there. But the French and Indian War, not a lot of us have been introduced to this type of material since high school history class. And again, me being obviously in high school, I'm a little more introduced to this category, if you know what I'm saying. It's only been a year since I've learned this kind of material, so I appreciate this even more because of that. Just doing a dual credit history class in my high school. And yeah, they explore a different area of history that not a lot of people have been introduced to or don't remember. So this is about a pretty young 20-year-old Washington, give or take, in 1753 to 1755 in the French and Indian War. And let's just get right into it. So visual effects, first of all. Again, if you've seen it in my YouTube shorts, you know the report card already. I like to do that first. I like to give out the report card first, just so I give viewers the main idea of what I'm going to be talking about on the video. Just so it's not a huge, just so if anybody doesn't agree with me, for example, and they get mad and they get surprised, they'll already know what I graded. So if you clicked on this video, obviously you're interested in what I have to say, and you're not angry. That's the vibe I'm going for. So I gave the visual effects category for Young Washington a very solid 4 out of 5 stars. Now, the reason I gave this 4 stars and not 5 is because in this film, they decided to do something a little different visual effects wise. They implemented about 100 shots of generative AI, artificial intelligence, in the film. And instead of VFX, and obviously that's the type of, like, obviously cinematography and all that, they augmented artificial intelligence into the movie. So if you've seen the movie, you can definitely tell when there's these AI scenes. There's these soldiers on horseback in a couple scenes, and it's obvious. I mean, this is obvious to me. It was AI, and it's just a new concept that I'm not used to. So this is a style that I don't hate necessarily. I don't like, or this is a style that I don't like necessarily. I just have to get used to this type of material because we live in 2026 now. It was about time they were going to put AI in movies or TV shows and all that. So I just need to get used to that kind of thing in movies, and I'm not entirely sold on it yet. Now, that's the only reason why it's 4 stars. I was kind of nitpicky with this movie because it went really successful in my book. Judging from, if you've seen the report card already, you can definitely tell. But yeah, they use techniques, generated by AI. Not sure if I love it or I'm okay with it. Like, all right, I guess this is the era that we're going into. So, boom, that's why that is 4 stars. So, next is the movie Necessary. Absolutely. Completely necessary. This movie needed to be made for us to understand that George Washington wasn't this perfect guy. That's what's so great about him. Okay, that's what's so great about him, because he's not a perfect man. He made mistakes and he learned from those mistakes. And this is what this movie is pretty much generally about. His struggles. I'm not going to spoil any, try not to spoil most of the good stuff that happens in it, just general concept of what happened. This movie needed to be made because this movie shows his struggles in the French and Indian War and his successes in the French and Indian War. He learns from those mistakes that he makes in the movie, which were pretty deadly, costly mistakes. Don't get me wrong, they were pretty bad. And then he learned from it, and we all end up happy, right? So this movie had to be made because, first of all, we need to realize that George Washington wasn't this perfect man, and he made his mistakes, and he learned from that. And also, again, like I said earlier, we need to be introduced and learn about this area of history about 20 years before the American independence. And people in the world generally too, like, what, because Europeans, if there's anybody from Europe listening to this video, this is your perspective. What is happening roughly 3,000 to 5,000 miles away in this new land that everybody is trying to claim at this point in history? That's what the French and Indian War is about, generally, claiming land. And mostly the French and the British, mostly. But we need to learn about this type of stuff. And that's what I love about this film. It really grasps what the idea they want to make out of this, and really good. So yeah, 5 stars. The movie, and then again, the movie premiered on July 3rd, which makes it absolutely perfect, perfectly around the nation's 250th birthday. And this is also why it's 5 stars. There is a sequel already planned to this film. It's going to be titled 1776. There is no scheduled release yet, but there is going to be a second film planned. They're in development of it already. So I'm excited, obviously. I loved this film. I can't wait to see what this next film is. Obviously, it's going to be on the American Revolution, American independence from the British. but that's also why it's 5 stars, because that just shows that they got a story that hasn't been finished yet. They're telling this story. We need to realize that George Washington wasn't this perfect man, but he learned from his mistakes, and that's life in the real world. It was the real world, obviously. It was just in movie form. This is real life now. Learn from our mistakes, and we should be set. So let's get into the acting and performance category. And I also gave this one 5 stars. Now, some people from when I read on YouTube, other YouTube videos and other online platforms probably wouldn't agree with me on the 5 stars, but in my opinion, I loved the cast. The cast was, frankly, probably the best they could do casting this type of film and going like 300 years back. And yeah, not 300 years, like 270. Yeah, I suck at math, whatever. So, George Washington was played by William Franklin Miller. Wonderful job, absolutely. It was really good performance. George Washington's mom was Mary Louise Parker. Lawrence Washington, which was George Washington's cousin in the film, was played by John Foss, and Robert Dinwiddie was played by Ben Kingsley. These are the couple that mainly bring a bell when it comes to main characters. Obviously, there's other actors that play important roles in this film as well, but these are the ones that like really pop when you look at a movie perspective. The performance was wonderful. It was a really fun film to watch, which ties into my enjoyment category. The acting, I think, was spot on. I recommend watching it, obviously, because the acting was really spot on. I'm not going to go into historical accuracy. I'm not a historian. I'm not going to make people angry if, all that kind of stuff. But really well played. Really well played film right there. And then that goes into our storyline category, which I also gave 5 stars. Like I said earlier, the movie goes generally from 1753 to around 1755. It's about George Washington's struggles and what he learned from that, and played into his success in the French and Indian War, a 20-year-old Washington. This movie included the skirmish at Jumonville Glen in May of 1754. The movie included Fort Necessity, the battle at Fort Necessity, July 1754, and it also included the Monongahela, July 1755. Those are the pretty important foundation of the film as we go from struggle to success for this young George Washington. And the storyline was really amazing to watch. French and Indian War and all that good stuff there. So, we're going to finish this out with the My Enjoyment category. You're probably not going to be surprised when I tell you that this is probably one of my favorite watches in a movie theater of all time, and I give it 5 stars. I love history. I love history movies, and I love when history movies are trying to do something different. And they did something different with this film. There are other films about the French and Indian War. I looked it up, and there's about 10, but there's really 1 or 2 that you really think of when you think of it. And the other one of them is Last of the Mohicans. Have you ever watched that film? Watch it. It's amazing. Really good movie. And then after this movie was made, it's really, you gotta think of this primarily when it comes to the French and Indian War, and it was a really fun to watch. Loved it. I can't wait for the sequel. So 5 stars. And that gives the overall score for Young Washington a whopping 24 out of 25. Definitely recommend this watch. Might be a little late to watch it in theaters, but it'll probably end up on Peacock or Paramount Plus. Living in today's world, it's probably automatically going to be somewhere. And yeah, you need to watch this film at some point. So here's a little extra facts to really just give you the vibe of what people have to go through and how to get through to make this film. The film was primarily filmed in Virginia and a little bit in Ireland. The film was directed by John Irwin, and yeah, it was a new concept of photography being from the augmentation of generative AI in some scenes, which I think I'll get used to. Just living in the world that we do today, I'll be fine with it. Some people don't like it, but yeah, I think I'll get used to it. I'm just not there yet. That's why I gave that 4 stars. But yeah, so that'll about do it for the movie recap of Young Washington. 24 out of 25 overall score. Gave you a 208 breakdown. We'll see you guys probably in the next On This Day in History and that little series thing in the 208 breakdown. I am Brantley McFetridge, the host of the 208 breakdown, and on my podcast on Spotify, the SRV Valley Report. Be sure to check that out. Be sure to check my trick shots out on YouTube Shorts. Would really appreciate it. And like and subscribe to the 208 breakdown.